Alright, we're on to our second objective, and I went ahead and wrote down these steps for solving rational equations for you. We're going to start by finding the least common multiple of all of the denominators. Then we're going to multiply both sides of the equation by the LCM, which means you need to multiply all the fractions by the least common multiple, or all of the terms. Then we're going to simplify. After this step, there should not be any fractions. Then we're going to solve by sadding up or by factoring. And the fifth and final step is we're going to check that the solutions do not make any of the denominators equal 0. Here's your first example for solving a rational equation. Let's go ahead and go through the steps together. The first step is we need to find the least common multiple of all of the denominators, meaning that we should start by factoring each of the denominators. X minus 3 can't be factored any further. X squared minus 9 can be factored as x plus 3 and x minus 3. And x plus 3 cannot be factored any further. If you would like, go ahead and pause the video and find the least common multiple of the three denominators, x minus 3, x plus 3, x minus 3, and x plus 3. You should have found the least common multiple to be x plus 3, x minus 3. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to multiply all of the terms on both sides of the equation by the least common multiple. Let's go ahead and do that. I got 6 over x minus 3, and I'm going to multiply that by x plus 3, x minus 3. Notice I multiplied just the top because we could write x plus 3, x minus 3 over 1, although we never do. Equal to 8x squared times and notice I write the denominator of 8x squared in its factored form. Minus 4x times x plus 3, x minus 3. I apologize about it not fitting on the side of the screen. Okay, let's go ahead and cross out or simplify our fractions. Notice we can cross out x minus 3 top and bottom for the 6. So we're on to the simplify step. 8x squared, we can cross out the x plus 3 and the x minus 3. For the 4x, we can cross out the x plus 3. So to finish the simplify step, remember we should have no fractions left over. We're going to rewrite our equation. 6 x plus 3 equals 8x squared minus 4x x minus 3. We're going to simplify this expression, giving us 6x plus 18 equals 8x squared. We're going to distribute the minus 4x. Minus 4x squared minus 4x times negative 3 gives us plus 12x. Now we're done with simplifying, and notice there are no fractions left over. I'm going to go ahead and erase part of the top of the screen and rewrite the equation as it is so that we can go on the step for solving. Again, we're trying to solve this equation, and if we notice, we have x squared terms, which means we're most likely going to have to factor to solve. And if you'll remember, to factor to solve, we need to make sure that all of the terms are on one side of the equation. So I need to subtract the 6x from both sides and subtract the 18 from both sides. So I get minus 6x and minus 18. This leaves me with 0 on the left-hand side, because the 6 and negative 6x and 18 and negative 18 cancel, leaving me with 0 equals 8x squared minus 4x squared gives me 4x squared, plus 12x minus 6x gives me plus 6x, and my last term is minus 18. Now I'm going to solve by factoring since I have 3 terms. And I notice right away that all of my terms have a common factor of 2. So I'm going to factor the 2 out, leaving me with 2x squared plus 3x minus 9. You notice inside of my parentheses I have a trinomial with a leading coefficient of 2. So I'm going to swing and divide, or use the train story to factor that out. I swing the 2 to the negative 9, giving me x squared plus 3x minus 18. I find 2 numbers that multiply to negative 18 but add to 3, specifically x plus 6 and x minus 3. I then divide by the 2 that I swung, not the 2 outside, but the 2 that I swung over, giving me x plus 3 and 2x minus 3. And I still have my 2 outside, and all this equals 0. In order to solve this, I set each factor equal to 0, and I get x is equal to negative 3, and x is equal to 3 halves. Again, I solve each factor by setting each factor equal to 0. X plus 3 equal to 0, 2x minus 3 equal to 0, and I solve those factors. You might have said, what about the 2? If I make the 2 equal to 0, the 2 right here, notice 2 never equals 0, so it is not a solution. Our last and final step is to check our solutions to make sure they don't make the denominator equal 0. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and scroll back up to the original problem, and we're going to check our 2 solutions, negative 3 and 3 halves. Let's start with negative 3. If you can substitute negative 3 into any of the denominators and they are 0, that means that negative 3 is not a solution. So let's check the first one. Again, we're checking the denominators. Negative 3 minus 3. That does not equal 0, so we're okay with that fraction. Let's check the second fraction. Negative 3 plus 3 equals 0. So that means we cannot use negative 3 as a solution. If you were asked why, it's because it makes the denominator equal to 0, and when solving equations, we are not allowed to have our denominators equal to 0. Then you can check negative 3 halves, but as you substitute negative 3 halves into all of the denominators, you'll find that it does not make any of the denominators equal to 0, which means that x equals 3 halves is our only solution. Okay, I'm going to have 3 examples for you to work. Go ahead and press pause when you come to each example, and when you're ready to see the answer, please press play. Okay, I've gotten to the point where you found the least common multiple and multiplied everything by the least common multiple. Now let's go ahead and cancel out each one of the like terms top and bottom, or rather simplify. X minus 3, x minus 3, x and x, x minus 3, x minus 3. Okay, go ahead and see if you can solve it from here. Alright, I've gotten you to the point to where you can continue simplifying. We just need to get all of our terms on the same side. Since we have an x squared term, we're most likely going to have to factor to solve. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll that down. And we're going to solve it from there. Minus 3x plus 3 minus 3x plus 3 gives us 0 equals x squared minus 4x plus 3, the factors of which are x minus 4 and x, x minus 3, and x minus 1. So our solutions are x equal to 3 and x equal to 1. Hopefully you checked your solutions, so 3 and 1, and you found way back at the original examples that if you substitute 3 into the denominator, it makes one of the fractions, or 2 in this case, equal to 0, because 3 minus 3 equals 0, which means that 3 is not a solution. If you check your other solution, which was 1, you would have found that it made none of the denominators equal to 0, so your only solution is x equals 1. Okay, if you got the previous two examples, you may not want to work completely through this one. The reason I'm giving this example is to show you one thing in particular. And that is, as we look at the denominators, we notice there is one term, specifically the 1, that does not have a denominator. So we can make it have a denominator of 1. My point again to showing you this is that anytime you don't have a denominator, your denominator is 1. If you'd like, go ahead and work this problem out. And the next example has something I'd like to show you in specific with it as well. Okay, I went ahead and reduced, and I'm on the simplifying step. And as we look at it, x plus 3, x minus 3. If you remember, when we factored x squared minus 9, hopefully you got x plus 3, x minus 3. Which means when we multiply x plus 3, x minus 3 back out, I can save myself some time just by going back to its unfactored form. Writing x squared minus 9 equals negative 3x plus 9. Solving it out the rest of the way, I get 4 and negative 1. When you check these two solutions, you'll find out this time both solutions work. So 4 and negative 1 are our solutions to this equation. Alright, here's our final example. Go ahead and try to solve this one using the methods we've described in the previous examples. Some of you looking at the problem may notice there's another way to solve it. And I'm going to show you the solution, and I'm also going to show you an alternate way to solve this equation than what we did previously. Again, go ahead and press pause, and when you're ready to see the answer, please press play. Alright, you should have gotten x equals 6 as your solution. Now note, you could have solved it the previous method, or, and you'll see worked it out in other ways, you could have cross-multiplied, which essentially is the same technique. It gives us the same answer, but it's a different process for solving. So you would have got 9, x squared minus 3x equals 3x, x squared minus 6x plus 9. If you want to solve by cross multiplication, go ahead and simplify this out and factor to solve. I'll show you the solution after you've had a chance to work it out on your own. Okay, getting it to the point where you can factor it, this is what I ended up with. Factoring, I ended up with 3x because every single term had 3x in common. X minus 3x minus 6. And then to solve by factoring, I set each factor equal to 0. And then I solve each factor. Then what you have to do is you have to check every single solution, 0, 3, and 6. So we're going to go ahead and scroll back up to the original problem. And if you try 0 and 3 into the original denominators, you'll find out that they make the denominators equal to 0, at least one of the denominators equal to 0, which means your final solution really is just x equals 6.